The Supreme Court's ruling on Keir Starmer's foreign policy agenda isn't just a legal defeat, it's a political catastrophe. It has stripped away the facade of competence Starmer has so carefully built around his leadership, exposing not just a failure of legal strategy but a dangerous overreach of power that has irrevocably damaged his credibility. The verdict should not be seen as a mere legal procedural hiccup. It is the moment the Labour Party was revealed for what it is: morally bankrupt, politically erratic, and absolutely incapable of leading the United Kingdom. For weeks, there have been whispers, then leaks, then reports, that Starmer and his administration were engaged in secretive, behind-the-scenes maneuvers with European Union officials, secretly aligning the UK's trade policies and regulatory framework with Brussels. Dismissed by Starmer and his supporters as baseless conspiracy theories, these concerns have now been validated by the Supreme Court. The very court that Starmer once championed as the ultimate defender of democratic values has now shattered his political ambitions, ruling his attempts to bypass Parliament as unconstitutional. This isn't just an embarrassing defeat, it's an unraveling of the very fabric of Starmer's leadership. Let's be clear about what this ruling means. Starmer's government had sought to push through measures that would effectively realign the UK with EU regulations, framing it as an economic necessity. To anyone with even a modicum of political understanding, this was nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to stealthily reverse Brexit. He sold it as a pragmatic approach to economic stability, but it was, at its core, a political maneuver designed to draw Britain back into the EU's orbit. The fact that Starmer thought he could get away with this is baffling in its arrogance. It's not just a betrayal of the electorate's will, it's a dangerous power grab that no one elected him to carry out. The Supreme Court ruling couldn't be clearer. Starmer's government had no authority to rewrite Britain's post-Brexit relationship with the EU without Parliament's full and democratic approval. His secretive dealings were exposed for what they were, an illegal overreach that undermined the very principles of democracy. The ruling serves as a resounding slap in the face to Starmer, who has prided himself on his legal expertise. If anything, this legal defeat should raise serious questions about his judgment. How did Starmer think he could sidestep the democratic process? Was he so consumed by political ambition that he thought he could do whatever he liked, as long as he framed it as necessary for the country's stability? The ramifications for his leadership are immense. The very people within his own party who had once been his most ardent supporters are now openly questioning his competence. Labour's top officials, once united under his banner, are now scrambling in panic, attempting to find a way to salvage what little is left of the party's reputation. Starmer's leadership was already fragile, balancing precariously between the pro-EU wing of his party and the Brexit-supporting electorate that helped propel him to the leadership in the first place. But this ruling has exposed his leadership for what it truly is: disjointed, contradictory, and dangerously out of touch with the British public. The opposition, sensing blood in the water, has wasted no time in capitalizing on Starmer's legal disaster. Conservative and Reform UK MPs have pounced on the ruling, branding Starmer a deceiver and a traitor to Brexit. Nigel Farage, in particular, has been quick to seize the moment, calling for Starmer to be held accountable for attempting to undermine the democratic will of the people. Farage's condemnation is not just political posturing, it is a sharp reminder of the deep mistrust that exists within the electorate towards Starmer's Labour. The very man who promised to unite the country now finds himself in a fractured political landscape, with both his own party and the public questioning his motives and his methods. But it's not just about the legal blow to Starmer's agenda. It's about trust. Labour's entire narrative of respect for democracy, of commitment to the people's will, has now been shattered. What was once dismissed as conspiracy theory, Starmer's attempts to subtly undo Brexit, has now been confirmed by the highest court in the land. This isn't a minor setback, it is an ideological betrayal of the British public. The ruling has irrevocably stained Starmer's image as a leader of integrity. How can the British people trust him to lead when his own government is found guilty of undermining the democratic processes that are supposed to underpin our entire political system? The fact that Starmer thought he could quietly maneuver his way back into the EU's regulatory fold without the consent of the people shows how disconnected he is from the electorate he claims to represent. This isn't just a failure of policy, it's a failure of leadership. A leader who cannot navigate his own party's divisions, who fails to respect the basic tenets of democracy, and who is found trying to manipulate the system for personal and political gain is not one who deserves to lead this country. Starmer's political career now hangs by a thread. Labour is on the brink of implosion, torn apart by internal divisions, public outcry, and the exposure of Starmer's reckless political gamble. The opposition has been handed the perfect weapon, and it is unlikely Starmer can recover from this. The question isn't whether Labour can survive. The question is whether Starmer's leadership can survive. And right now, the answer is unclear at best. What is clear is that Starmer's days as leader are numbered, and the Labour Party's future is now a perilous path toward uncertainty.